Hello everyone, welcome to Terminally Nerdy. I'm your host Clay, and today I bring to you The Citrus Avengers Issue 1 Recap. You're probably wondering what the hell I'm even talking about. Well, as you all know, if you haven't been able to tell from the previous videos over and over and over again, I'm into tabletop role-playing. I have a lot of books. I have 2 different DM screens. I'm into tabletop. And recently, as of last week Sunday, what was that? The 23rd. It was Sunday, it was Saturday. A week from today, actually, when I'm recording this. Although you're going to see this on the 30th. My wife, my friend Dan, my wife's cousin Eli, and myself got together and started up a Savage Worlds superhero game. I've never done supers, but I was willing to give it a try. We all agreed on Savage Worlds because it's very open and it's very simple to play. And I decided that every time we do one of these, I'm going to do a recap episode to give you guys a little bit on how these games play out. Now, in this particular episode, we're going to talk about the 3 player characters. Who they are, and kind of what happened. We didn't play for a whole lot. A lot of it was character creation. Unfortunately, I only have, what is this? Where is this? One superhero companion. Which, by the way, in addition to the Savage Worlds Deluxe book that you need, you should get one of these if you're going to play supers. This has a ton of powers in it, and a lot of options, and even some supervillains, including what can only be Van Pelt from Jumanji. Let's be real. So, we sat down, we got together, and the setting is about 100 years in the future, here in Orlando, where I live. And the idea was that superheroes are fairly common now, or supers in general, not everyone's a hero, and it's become kind of institutionalized. So, in the setting, in the world that I'm building, basically, if you're a superhero team, you're government mandated. The government's funding you, they provide you a secret base, which is also your home, they give you food, they keep you clothed, they give you a salary, etc. And in order to become a hero, you have to go through a superhero academy, you have to graduate, and then there's like a little upgrade system, almost like One Punch Man, where you start off either joining an existing team at the city level, or being given a city to watch over should the current team be moving, either retiring, they're all dead, or they're actually being upgraded to the next biggest stage. In the case of our heroes, they've been given control over Orlando, because the team that was there, which was the Silver Stars, which are all like universe and space themed stuff, have actually moved up to covering the state of Florida, and the state of Florida team has retired. So the basically it starts at city, goes to state, goes to country, goes to world, and you deal with progressively larger threats as you go up. So the guys who watch over the state of Florida don't care about the little dinky bank robber. They care about the mad scientist trying to take over the state. The guys who watch the entire country are, dealing with opposing super teams who might be trying to cause trouble. They're dealing with, large-scale threats. The guys who watch over the world are dealing with galactic-level stuff, alien invasions, dimensional rifts, that sort of thing. It's progressively bigger and bigger. I'm doing it this way to give a sense of growth, because Savage Worlds doesn't really do growth very well after a point, so I'm making it do it. Now let's talk about our heroes. So in this world, I started at graduation day, and they graduated, and our heroes consisted of... I love this guy. So this is what a superhero, this is what a character sheet in Savage Worlds looks like. Our first hero is Flyman, with an eye. This is Cousin Eli. His superpowers consist of, he's ageless, so he doesn't age. Literal immortality as long as he doesn't die. He can read minds. He can restore. He's a healer. He has healing powers. He has base level flight, and he has the power of invention at the lowest level, which is borderline useless. Those are his superpowers. They only have 10 points to start with, so... Oh, and like I said, Flyman's with an eye. He is also, because it's Eli, and we all know Eli does the exact same thing, he has a problem with gambling, and he has skill at gambling. Eli plays roughly the same character. He's always got some sort of healing power, and he always gambles. Always. Now you'll notice he has no combat ability baseline with his powers. He uses a laser gun. I gave them all money, and they all start with $500. He actually took a background called Rich, so he's literally started with 3 times the amount of money. He spent all of his money on a full suit of body armor and a laser gun. Because it's Eli, and Eli's weird. Our next hero is Gar. And here's Gar's sheet, and you can tell this obviously written by somebody different. Gar was an ex-Mafia soldier. So the Mafia is going to be playing a big part in this game thanks to my 3 characters. Flyman was connected to the Mafia because of his gambling habits. Gar was a part of the Mafia, and the other character also has issues with the Mafia, my wife's. So Gar's thing was he was a soldier, and he pissed off the local Mafia leader known as Dark Horse. Dark Horse is sort of an enforcer, and he's head of the area that they're in, a large chunk of Florida, like the central area. Dark Horse is in control. And Dark Horse is this mafioso with a horse head for a head, a black one. He's also a practitioner of voodoo. The Mafia family that he's a part of is run by Don Eduardo, or Mr. Ed. My wife's suggestion. This is all my wife, by the way. My wife came up with her rival, which was Dark Horse, and that's where all this came from. It all just kind of built off this, and this is what I love. Pro tip for players: GMs like me love it when you try to connect, like create things for your characters that we can abuse. She gave me a villain. She was like, here's my rival. And I was like, I'm taking that. That's now a villain. He's over here now. He's not just about you. He hates you. He hates you in particular, but he's over here. Dan found out. Dan's response was to go, well, fuck it. I was in the Mafia. I was a werewolf mafioso, and then they pissed off the Mafia, and they threw him into a tank of goo. Now he's a goo man. He's a large pink goo man who can duplicate himself. Specifically, his powers consist of an id blade, basically a psychic blade like Psylocke. He can also create multiples of them in multi-strike. He can duplicate himself, and he has what's called promotion. So, if he has a duplicate, and mind you, there's no range on duplicate, so as far as I'm concerned, he can communicate telepathically with his duplicate, order it at any range. There is no range in the book, so I'm not going to have one. If he dies, his duplicate becomes him. And he only has level 1 of duplicate, which is why he can have 1 duplicate. There is no upper limit to duplicate. Theoretically, if he gets big enough, he could have a literal army, keep one somewhere hidden away, and he's literally unstoppable. He will never die. He also has wall walking. He's a man made of goo. He climbs up walls. So he's actually built for combat. What's interesting is his duplicate copies everything he has except for the duplicate power and a couple of other abilities, which he doesn't have. He also intends eventually to get Chameleon, which will let him shapeshift. So he can look like one thing, his duplicate could look like somebody else, and you will never be able to figure out who is who without notice rolls, which is basically this game's perception system. And finally we have my wife, and my wife's entire character was born because of this. I'm sure everyone's seen our good friend the horse mask. I can't wear this, my head's too big. So my wife wanted a horse mask, and well, here it is. And then she got this horse mask, and she said, I'm going to be a superhero. I might as well involve the horse mask. Here it is. She literally wore this the whole game. She is Sonic Nay. I'll put this back over here because I don't want to get her upset with me. So she is Sonic Nay, and here is her character sheet, and you'll see how she doodles and draws and different stuff. She's got like Six-Ad World right here, little horse head, etc. So her powers are fear. Now what's funny about her fear power is there were 2 options. So all powers have multiple options or buffs and debuffs you can give the powers for certain things for either point reduction or point increasement. So a point reduction one was permanent fear. She has a fear aura. It is 12 inches on the table. Each inch is 3 yards. It's a 36-yard range of fear on sight with her. And the permanent factor means she cannot ever turn it off. It reduced the cost of her fear by 2. Then she took the other option, and I saw no reason to not allow it. That increased the cost back up by 2, making the base cost of fear 3 still. That made it harder to resist her fear. Now, specifically, fear only affects enemies and civilians. So, every time my wife walks in the room, I have to roll fear checks. Every time. All the time. Now, she did this because she felt one, it was funny. Two, it was, appropriate. She has a creepy horse head. And we decided the reason she has a horse head is Dark Horse cursed her. She offended him during some event. I think it was, she used to, go to a house of repute. She's playing a guy who used to go to, a whorehouse. And she offended Dark Horse somehow. So he cursed her with a terror-inducing horse head. It's permanent. Unfortunately, what it also did was awoke her latent mutant powers. So her other powers are she is tough. It's really hard to actually hurt her. She has parry, so she can dodge better. She has base level super speed. She moves twice as fast as everybody else all the time. And she has her sonic neigh. She literally neighs at people to hurt them. And she took the upgrade to her sonic neigh that she can, on her own, decide it's a cone. And as you can see, she wrote the word neigh on the cone template. Because Savage Worlds uses templates. So she can literally do this. Now this is friendly fire enabled, so she can hurt the party. So she can either shout at them at a direct target and neigh them, or she can cone neigh. And she built her character to be as strong as humanly possible with her ranged attacks. Most of her skill points right now are in the shoot skill. So she shit up. And what's fun is she plays it correctly. So, when the graduation ceremony started, so we started at graduation, she walked into the room, third and final, and immediately caused fear. Half the entire room started trying to run away from her. I rolled, I decided there was one of the teachers, because supers aren't affected unless they're bad guys, and this teacher was a specialist in mind manipulation, just basically calmed everybody. So, basically the way the game worked is they had their graduation, they saw Dark Horse there, he recognized everyone. My wife assumed that she had killed him in a fight with a flower pot, because flower pots can kill you, head injuries. She assumed he was dead, not. They then went to the government agent, they got basically what amounts to Pip-Boys, so wrist-arm computers that hook into, the police systems. They were also given instructions on how to choose a base. They decided their base would be under where we have a Sanford flea market. And the entrance to the base is in an adult video store. Because no one's going to look there, especially with a terror-causing horse-head creature that goes in and out of there. Who in their right mind would want to go near that? They also got basically a van to carry them around. Now, the outside of the van, it's an old Volkswagen van with a sweet 70s wizard on the side. Oh, yeah. And this is where they came up with their name. So they had to come up with a team name, and Dan said we should be the Citrus Avengers, because then we can dispense zesty vengeance. Followed by my wife going, well, no, I'm a big mouth, so I'm always going to be talking. My wife took the negative trait, big mouth, so she constantly will, spout off her plans and things, and said, she will dispense zesty justice! Thus the Citrus Avengers were born. They designed their base building rules in the Savage Worlds Companion. I gave them a starting base. They designed it. It's got some cool features. I don't want to go over it because it's not that interesting. And they went to their base, got in, and they found a fruit basket from Dark Horse, who very calmly tells them, do not interfere with his plans. Which, of course, causes my wife's character, who hates him, to immediately pick it up, hurl it in the trash, and go, no! No! Complete with that. Now, mind you, she's wearing the horse mask, so she's like, nope, and it's wiggling. Also, she has to bring the dice up to the nose, because she can see through the nose. It's ridiculous. I then proceed, they start messing with their crime computer, because they had a command center. They mess with their crime computer. I have a bank robbery kickoff, and this is where they're supposed to meet the villain for this little bit of an adventure called the Debonair Dastard. The Debonair Dastard villain is a guy who is basically a 50s stage magician. He's got the big twirly mustache, a top hat, the whole nine. But they didn't get to see him because they never went inside the bank. What ended up happening was they got to the bank. My wife, of course, terrified half the police officers because they are technically civilians. They got calmed down. Flyman proceeds to try to go around the side of it. Has no stealth skills, so he immediately gets seen and shot. Then he backs off. Gar tries to sneak. He does have stealth skills, but there's not a lot of hiding. He gets spotted and shot. And then my wife's response is to scream at the door, roll maximum damage on her scream, and this has exploding dice, so she explodes, gets a ridiculous number, and blows the doors off its hinges. At this point, there's a flash of green light from inside the bank, and a giant man-eating bunny comes out. Remember, he's a stage magician. It's kind of his thing. They proceed to fight. Gar doesn't even get into melee. He has to spend his first turn summoning his duplicate. Because he never said he had it summoned, and I needed to remind Dan as a player that you could start the day with that thing summoned. You don't have to unsummon it. You can just have it out. There's no duration on your damn duplicate until he's dead or you get rid of it. So I think next time we play, he'll just constantly have his duplicate summoned as like a second him. What's the point of having one if you don't have it out? They then proceed to kill the giant bunny, but in the fight, that gives time for the Dapper Dastard to get away. And he does. So they go in. Now, Flyman is built to be investigative. He's basically their investigative character. So you have my wife, who's a ranged damage dealer. Gar is very much a melee damage dealer. He's built to, with his edges, which are basically feats, he can hit multiple targets around him very quickly, and there's 2 of him. And then you have Flyman, who really has no combat capabilities, but he can heal people, he can read minds, including the enemies. And he has a bunch of points in things like investigation and notice. He's designed to find everything. And poor Eli keeps flooding his rolls. Now, at this point, without thinking, I did something stupid. Learned from my mistake. I forgot one of the cardinal rules of GMing. Always have a secondary plan. Because I was trying to get them to go outside, because if they'd gone outside, they would have noticed, hopefully, the tire tracks, and they could have chased this guy, maybe inquired some people. But unfortunately for them, the Dastard has teleportation abilities, very short range. He teleported out of the building, hopped in his car, and went off. Unfortunately, my players never go outside and ask. They never go outside. They never investigate. And I'm left going, huh. Now, at this point, I'm kind of tired. I'd been having a rough week, so normally I would have just improvised something, but unfortunately I couldn't think of anything at the time. My brain was pretty much fried after the week I had had that week. So I said, okay, we're going to stop here. They went back to their base. They had a little thing. They successfully completed, they stopped the bank robbery and saved the hostages. And that, my friends, was the first game of the Citrus Avengers. So hopefully in the next game, I'm probably going to have the police notify them that they found something. I'll probably have the Dastard rob another bank or commit another crime, and hopefully this time they can get inside fast enough to catch him. I'm probably going to just plan a bunch of different crimes for him to commit over and over and over again, and hopefully eventually they'll realize he's teleporting away. I have to get them to think that, superpowers, what could he be doing? What can they do if they learned it? So, as always, guys, if you have any thoughts or feelings, or hell, how did your session this month go? How's your gaming been going? I love to hear stories about other people's games. I mean, this was a lot of fun. Savage Worlds is a very quick and fun game with exploding dice. I might consider, once Open Legend happens, converting it from Savage Worlds to Open Legend. Maybe. Probably not, though. Converting is always a pain in the ass to get exact copies of things. But, I'm going to do these every month because we play once a month. So, next month you'll get issue 2, which will hopefully be a little more action-packed other than fighting a giant man eating a rabbit out of a hat. Because, see, they didn't get to see that because he literally pulled the rabbit out of his hat. They missed it. They were too busy standing outside being yutzes. They're heroes! You charge in! Alright, well, if you like what I'm doing, as always, hit that like button. If you don't like it, hit the dislike button. Feel free to describe. Yes, feel free to describe. I'm an idiot. Feel free to subscribe if you like what I'm doing here. And as always, thanks for watching, folks. And remember, stay nerdy!